Just go ahead and count with me, if you will, how many ghouls I lose. That's one. It's probably... This was stupid. I actually almost got away with my mistake, but then I tried to surround his farseer, which made absolutely no sense. That's like one of the quintessential noob things to do. Like, everybody does this. I've sat there and watched, like, you remember Pantera? Like, he's the one who freaking taught me how to play. But I'd sit here and watch him play sometimes, and he'd try to get surrounds on things when he just did not have enough shit. Like, your ghouls have to be able to survive, at least, until the thing that you're trying to surround and kill is dead. So going for that surround was completely pointless. Just watch yourself for that. Like, when you first learn how to do surrounds, you start to overuse them a little bit. And I didn't just start learning, but I was stupid, yeah, because I had the microphone in my face. Can't do live audio commentaries. I don't think I'll be trying that again anytime soon. However, I did manage to get 2 burrow kills on him. Now, so if I had been smart and town portaled out of there, I think, like, I lost 1 ghoul in the process of killing the burrow, but otherwise, if I had just town portaled out of there and not lost any of my ghouls, for one thing, I wouldn't be having such lumber problems right now. If you notice, I went ahead and got, like, a fiend just to kind of help. It's a couple fiends just to kind of help me creep. What really would have been ideal here would have been for me to town portal out, basically get going on lumber and go dual destros, dual slaughterhouse destroyers. Because if you are successful, like if you get some major screwage on the orc base with your late tier 1, early tier 2 harass. He's going to be slowed down to the point where it's not likely that he's going to be able to counter the mass destros. Yes, bats and wyverns are, like, they're fairly good against destroyers, but they're not, like, they're cost effective, but they're not that cost effective. So, like, especially if you have mana when you first get into the fight, you can still, like, often end up beating wyverns. And it's one of those things where, like, once you get, like, a substantial enough advantage over them, you just keep pumping out destroyers, because there's really not a whole heck of a lot that the orc can do once they're kind of backpedaling. Like, you know, when you're getting burrow kills from, like, raids and things like that, the orc just really is never able to catch his way back up. So anyway, my little goal there was to just go ahead and get level 3 on my Death Knight. That's, you know, for support, especially for one thing, I was getting a few fiends. You know, honestly, I think the fiends were kind of stupid. The whole idea was that, you know, obviously you get them as buffer against wyverns, but I mean, if you look, like, I think his first bestiary unit is probably coming out, like, right now. I really didn't have to worry about having that much trouble from bestiary stuff, basically from wyverns. So I really just should have gone dual slaughterhouse and started massing destroyers as fast as possible. As a result of the fact that I didn't do that, and the fact that I lost so many ghouls and probably should have left one chopping wood while I went and harassed his base, I'm really slow out of the gate getting destroyers here. You know, I forgot a ziggurat there, but regardless, I just haven't had the slaughterhouse around for that long, and I only have 1 of them. Now, what I was trying to do there is my usual thing, where I try and go ahead and cancel an expansion, because I figured that was where he was likely to be expanding. I now have Ghoul Frenzy at least almost on the way, so I have some remote prayer of fighting his army. Although, if you look, I only have about 6 ghouls. This is another one of the consequences. Like I said, Undead versus Orc, very, very unforgiving matchup. Although, you really can't complain too much when you, like, don't town portal and lose, like, 3 or 4 ghouls as a result of it. If you do that, you're just an idiot. And I was an idiot. Lesson to be learned from this is, like, if you're harassing his base and you're doing good and all, just regardless, if he comes in from behind you like that, don't run through his army trying to escape. And, you know, it's really probably best to just town portal out, especially if you've already secured, you know, a good dig on him. If you've already slowed him down plenty, you can afford to spend that town portal. I mean, don't lose your town portal for something stupid, but if you lose it, if you have to pop a town portal because you were doing something cool and screwing him over, it's fine. Okay, basically, I saw that he hadn't expanded. I'm going to start sending skeletons out to scout, try and figure out, you know, where and if he's expanding. This is the smart thing to do. If you can't find your opponent's expansion, it's quite possible that he hasn't. Like in Ryder's case, Ryder was banking. My skeleton didn't quite make it, and he hadn't quite started expanding yet anyway. But if the orc player isn't expanding, it's probably the most reasonable thing to do. Is just to go creep, because I really, like, for example, I shouldn't be fighting his army at this point. I don't have enough ghouls, and that's really one of the things about fighting against somebody. Like, you know how I said there's kind of a shopping list for getting ghouls, for getting into a fight with ghouls. You got to have those. Yeah, I just got trashed there by a really nice stomp coupled with lightning shield, and I didn't have a destroyer ready to dispel it. I mentioned that there's like a semi-optional shopping list, like you want to have 2 rods of necromancy, 2 healing scrolls, etc. When you're going to battle with ghouls, and that you can get away with not necessarily having all of that. In fact, you won't usually be able to. However, one thing that you absolutely need is to have enough ghouls. 6 is not going to cut it. You really want more like 9 to 12. You just want to absolutely have them swarming all over the place and dealing lots and lots of damage. 6 ghouls generally tend to die before they do a whole hell of a lot. And at this point, I am screwed. I think that should be fairly obvious for you. There's Ryder's now getting his expansion going, but there's really no way that Undead can recover from like a really, unless I manage to expand myself, which is usually doesn't happen against Orc. Okay, so I'm gonna go for another fight. I was once again kind of spazzing out. I didn't have enough lumber. I really wanted to turn all those statues into destroyers and just go ballistic on his grunts here, and just, you know, devour his wolves and things like that. But unfortunately, I didn't have enough. I didn't have enough lumber to do it. That is one of the things that you got to watch out for, and it's one of the things that you're going to get screwed on if you don't make it. If you let too many of your ghouls die, like I did there. Another thing that's happening here, and something to watch out for, it was actually new to me. I'd not seen people doing this. Ryder brought, he's got like 2 Forest Troll Berserkers actually in here, plus the Kodo Beast, and he focused my destroyers with them, which is like incredibly effective. I didn't realize how utterly fast they deal damage to destroyers. I mean, yes, you can still stay in the battle. You just gotta like kind of micro your destroyers out of the way and coil them and things like that. But it kind of took me by surprise here. I was not expecting that much like ground air piercing damage coming from his army. And I'm screwed here. I kind of stuck in the game for a little while. I was gonna see if I could keep pumping destroyers out. And I hadn't looked on my mini-map to see if it expanded yet. I thought maybe he hadn't. I was going to go pick off a unit there, but ended up just getting the destroyer killed once again because I was not expecting quite the damage output that the Berserker and even the Kodo Beast do to destroyers. So anyway, yeah, if you see, like, especially just generally if you see mercs in the Orc army or you see headhunters, you just got to be a lot more careful with your destroyers. If he starts like massing headhunters and things, usually the best thing to do is to get a Crypt Lord III. That's kind of a universal thing. In fact, that would have been pretty helpful in that game there if I'd had the resource left over to do it. Once again, I couldn't do any of these things because I dropped too many ghouls in the like early mid game, and Undead just really doesn't recover from mistakes like that, so don't make them. Anyway, that's about all I have to say for this one. Honestly, like, I know those games aren't very good, and I wouldn't have used them, but the fact was that, you know, I did it with Ryder, and Ryder had already recorded his commentary, and it was a very good commentary, so I figured it would be better to just go ahead with things, and at least, you know, seeing as the new patch successfully invalidated all of the old audios, at least it would be getting some content in front of you good folks. For some ending music here, I have a new, not that new, but overclocked remix. It's a Ghouls and Ghosts, the title of the from the game Ghouls and Ghosts for the Commodore 64, not the Sega Genesis or arcade version. It's called the Poltergeist Mix, and it's by Binster.